Hey everyone, it's Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. This is Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota. But Sam, I was sitting here, man, looking at some of the stats, man, and Kirk Cousins, his passer rating, 92. His QBR, 51.6. That's middle of the road, but guess who's below him? Thomas Leonardo Brady. I don't know what his middle name is, Sam, but when you think about Tom Brady, I make up a new one every time. When you think about Tom Brady, though, Sam, people would not consider Kirk Cousins better than Tom Brady. People would say if Tom Brady was in this Vikings offense, he would be doing better than Kirk Cousins is doing in Kirk Cousins' current offense. But the numbers don't lie. The stats don't lie. Kirk Cousins right now is better than Tom Brady. I'm going to go with Kirk Cousins is better than Tom Brady. But what do you think, Sam? Like, do you really think Kirk Cousins right now with these stats are better than Tom Brady?
Yeah, it's weird because people probably will go into the playoffs thinking that Brady has a better chance to win a playoff game than Kirk, even though the Bucs are terrible. But hey, it's not just Brady. I would say Kirk this year better than Rodgers, better than Russell Wilson, better than Tom Brady. He's better than a lot of legendary quarterbacks this year. Maybe Kirk's late 30s. Maybe he's entering the golden era of his career. Maybe this is just the beginning.
Maybe. I don't know, but we got to get the show started, people. This is Ron Johnson. That's Sam Ekstrom. Stay tuned because we're going to talk a little bit more about Kirk Cousins and this Vikings offense, and they're playing the Giants. We also got Stylez G, former NFL D lineman, and Gopher, talking a little Syracuse, talking a little stories. Yes, there's a story about Stylez G being butt naked in the locker room. So we're going to have to talk about that in the training room there, that might I add. So we got to talk about that, but also the whiteout. Giants, Vikings. What's going to happen this week? Coming up next.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. Now the Ron Johnson Show. On the field, in the broadcast booth, Ron Johnson is Minnesota sports. He's played with them, hung out with them, and grown up with all the big names in Minnesota sports. They're hanging out with Ron Johnson. It's the Ron Johnson Show on the Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast. And it starts now.
Hey everyone, I'm Ron Johnson, and this is the Ron Johnson Show on Locked On Sports Minnesota's podcast network. I want to thank you guys for joining us each and every week. It's a snowy Wednesday. The Vikings are going to play on a Saturday again. They've had a good Saturday this season. They're undefeated. Best NFL game in history on a Saturday. So why not play on a Saturday again? Christmas Eve. Are you going to get a lump of coal after this game? Are you going to get the presents you've been waiting for? We got to start something different because this week I got to give my wife and my daughter their Christmas gift, one of their Christmas gifts early because I got them Unreal all-white hoodies. I got them the hoodie for the game. I got mine ready to go, so me and my daughter and my wife are going to have the same hoodie on for the game. Our little 8-year-old, she's going to be left out. We're going to go to somewhere else and get her one, but definitely going to have the white hoodies unwrapped on Christmas Eve morning because when they get up, they unwrap them, they put them on, they go to the game. So I'll probably give my daughter one too so she can unwrap hers. We're going to go get her one a day. Me and my wife are going to go shopping and find her a white hoodie somewhere. There's got to be one retailer out there that has one. But I want to thank you guys for joining us each and every week. Today, we got Stylez G joining us on the Ron Johnson Show in the Hanging with Ron Johnson segment. He's going to talk about his name. His birth name was Greg White. So he's going to tell us a little bit about why he became Stylez and what that meant to him. Also, Newark, New Jersey, Glen Mason from New Jersey. Got a couple stories here and there. But this is a Vikings week because it's a huge one. The Eagles quarterback is hurt. And he may not play for 3 games because they might just say, you know what, let's get into the playoffs healthy because I'd rather be the 2 seed than go into the playoffs with a hurt quarterback and maybe have to have a backup in there for us. So when you think about Jalen Hurts being out, if they lose 1 or 2, they have to lose 2 for sure. Can the Vikings win out and end up getting the number 1 seed and home field advantage and a bye to get their guys healthy? So this Giants game is important because then you got the Bears and the Packers, and those seem very winnable at the moment. You never know with injuries as well because the Vikings want to rest guys. But there's something sneaky about this Giants-Vikings game that we kind of bring up every week, and I feel like eventually it's got to happen. It's got to happen at some point. But before we jump into that, make sure you guys download Locked On Sports Minnesota on Amazon Fire and Roku. You can get the Locked On Sports Minnesota app. You can get all of our shows, all of our videos. That's Locked On Sports Minnesota. It's on Amazon Fire and Roku. Just download it right there on your TV. Every time you turn it on, you can watch all of our shows. But as I bring Sam Ekstrom in, my producer, Sam, we got to talk about this. Let's pay off the tease early. The Giants' runs defense is 30th in the NFL. It's not good, which is weird because they have one of the best running backs in the NFL when you look at their run game. Their run game on offense is 6. They're rushing for 146 yards a game, but their run defense is 30th. They're giving up 150. So it's almost like they don't practice against the best running game, one of the best running games in the NFL. Part of their running game, too, is that guy, Daniel Jackson. Daniel Jackson is the Gophers receiver, but Daniel Jones, the guy can run. He can hurt you with his legs as well. David Tyree brought it up yesterday as well. Like, he feels like that's the quarterback of the future. So when you look at this run defense for the Giants, and you look at Dalvin Cook, had a 95-yard game, 5 yards away from 100. They should have just given 5 more yards, coach. But when you look at that, the Vikings are averaging 95.4 yards. They're 28th in run, but they are 8th in points, 25. They are 7th in the pass, 259 pass yards a game. We know they're really good at the pass. But is this a game, Sam? Is this a game when you think about a quarterback that's taking 40 sacks? 40 sacks Kirk Cousins is taking. That's the 4th most sacks in the NFL. You also have Daniel Jones on the other side that's taking 41. That's the 3rd most sacks in the NFL. When you look at a Kirk Cousins that's taking 40 sacks, he's thrown 11 interceptions. Do you try to force the run this game, knowing now that you realize we're not an inside run team? We're an outside. Like, all the big Dalvin Cook runs are coming outside. Toss sweeps, toss cracks, all that stuff. You know, the flip, the fake counter flip. Dalvin Cook in open space is a bad man. Sam, is this the game where the Vikings finally get the run game going some way, somehow, when you look at this Giants run defense?
Well, just look at the efficiency of the Giants' run defense. It's bad. This is the piece that's easily the worst. Last in the NFL, 5.4 yards per carry against them.
Yeah.
That's massive. If you rush for 5.4 yards per carry on the year, you're probably the rushing champion. Like, they are having the equivalent of a rushing champion face them when they're playing defense against the run. So I think this is a great game to get Dalvin Cook on track. And speaking of efficiency, Vikings haven't been super efficient in the run game. 4.1 yards per carry. That's 26th in the league. So I think this is a wonderful opportunity for that group to get going. It looks like still no Garrett Bradbury, though. Garrett Bradbury has been missed in the run game. He was in a minor car accident following the comeback on Saturday, aggravated his back. So that's pretty unfortunate and could mean that he might not get back to 100% before the end of the year. We'll find out about him. That could be a big loss, but if they can get the outsides working, get Ezra Cleveland running sprints down the field with Dalvin Cook again. That was fun to watch. I think this is a good get-right game for the Vikings run offense.
Yeah, when you think about this run offense and how they get going, like I said, you're right. Garrett Bradbury out. Ed Ingram, hit or miss sometimes. Ezra Cleveland, really good. Christian Darrisaw, really good. Brian O'Neill, really good. TJ Hawkinson, really good. Receivers, really good blocking on the outside. So if I'm a mathematician, if I'm a physicist, if I have an hypothesis, I'm going to run outside. It seems like all the bread and butter to this is outside. So hopefully Kevin O'Connell is thinking that. Hopefully the Giants aren't smart enough to realize the Vikings are going to run outside. Toss, let CJ Ham lead the way. Let him just create a lane as the receivers crack down. Maybe the tight end cracks down. You got your tackle and your guard pulling. You got CJ Ham pulling around on a counter. I think that's the way to go. Stretch. Run the stretch play. I can hear Sandra Bullock telling me, run the stretch play, Bert. Just run the dang ball. This is another game. But again, Kevin O'Connell's pass game is so efficient. I feel like this is going to be another pass day. The end zone, and this is another one quick before we get out of here, Sam. I don't know if you saw the end zone for the Vikings. They teased it. It's going to be white. It's going to be white because it's supposed to look like snow, and then the Vikings is going to be purple versus the other way around where it's a purple end zone and white Vikings. So they're going to flip it. And then it looks like there's a little stretch of purple just to make sure, because you can't have white on white. So you got to have another color so the refs can see that little spot to make sure, and the cameras. I personally don't like the idea. This is why. If I'm a ref and I'm not paying attention to the color change, and this happened to the Gophers when we had the stupid like border of green, and then we had our maroon because they had to do that for the Vikings, quick change. We got screwed against Purdue because they saw the maroon and then they saw a receiver's foot hit the green, and in their minds, quick, they were like, no, that's out of bounds, not realizing, no, the white is out of bounds. So the fact that it goes white, purple, white, I hope that they show the refs. I'm going to go down there. I always see the refs before the game anyway because they're checking players coming out the locker room. I'm going to make sure I tell them, hey, look at this end zone. Purple is in. White is in. The other white is out. Do not make that mistake. Like, I'm going to make sure I tell them because I feel like that could be a issue where they have to go to the replay and then remember like, oh, crap, you're right. Sorry. I thought he was out because I thought purple was out and white was in and my bad. Like, I didn't like that idea, but they did it anyway. But you know what? We got Stylez G White coming up next. Excited to have him on the show. He's a friend of mine. We played together in college and in the pros with the Orlando Predators. I was his roommate for like 3 days. Worst experience of my life. You'll hear about that. And you're going to hear about his thoughts on New Jersey football, Syracuse football when he was coming up, Glen Mason, and being butt naked in the locker room. I don't know what his problem was, but going to the training room butt naked and sitting up on the table, I don't know. He's a defensive lineman, though. They're weird. But stay tuned for that. And remember, Locked On Sports Minnesota gives you endless Vikings talk with local experts. Get your daily 30-minute dose of sports with KARE 11 Sports anchor Reggie Wilson going back and forth with his co-host Luke Inman. It's fast, it's fun, it's superior sports talk. It's your daily Minnesota sports show. As you can find that on the Amazon Fire and the Roku app. Just download Locked On Sports Minnesota. We have a word from our sponsors.
BetOnline.net brings you today's show. It's your source for sports wagering information, whether it's pro or amateur leagues. Vikings now favored by 4. People giving the Vikings some love. They were favored by 3 yesterday. That line has moved over under 47.5 against the Giants. You can get that line and plenty more at betonline.net. Find it on your mobile device. It's where the game starts.
Now it's time to hang with Ron Johnson in the Hang with Ron Johnson segment. We've had David Tyree on from the Giants. Yesterday, you know what that was. Behind enemy lines, we had Cato June. Now it's time to stay on this side of the ball. We got Stylez G White and David Tyree yesterday, and this is why it kind of fit perfectly. David Tyree made a comment yesterday, and so we got to start off with David Tyree's comment, but I want to thank Stylez G White for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show. This is a guy that I went to college with, a guy that I played football with, a guy that I've had numerous stories. Some I can tell, some I can't tell. This guy getting hit in the head with an orange by a player on our team. Speaking of the orange, we got Syracuse playing Minnesota coming up, and he was so pissed off. He wanted to kill him. We were dressed like ninjas. I mean, I got all kinds of stories, but I got to start off with the story at hand. The guy's name is Stylez G White, and yes, people, that's the same person David Tyree was talking about because he said, I remember Greg White in high school and college and so on and so forth, and then coming out. And he went from Greg White to Stylez G White, man. Thank you for joining me on the Ron Johnson Show. But, tell the people right off the bat, man, what led to the Stylez name change?
Stylez G White. All right, so I'm old. And there was a cult classic called Teen Wolf. And his best friend name was Stylez. So Stylez G was pretty dope. He was an entrepreneur. He was everything. He made the show. He made the movie. So I was like, yo, I like Stylez. It's a good name. And then I was like, throw a Z on it. And then that's how it went. It was simple.
Yeah, man, because when you think about Teen Wolf,
that happened.
I mean, it's the funniest, though. It's the funniest because when he said Greg White, I'm like, yeah, I keep forgetting his name was Greg. And then I remember going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was down there and saw you, hung out with you at the hotel. One of your teammates, I think, must have come by. And I was like, yeah, man, Greg's picking me up. And he's like, Greg? He's like, who's Greg? And then you pull up and he's like, oh, Stylez? This dude's name is Stylez, baby. Like,
yeah, I'm legit.
Like his teammates, a lot of your teammates didn't even know your real name when you were born, your birth name.
Listen,
they just know your given name now.
No, listen to this. That's nothing. My guys that I grew up with didn't know my whole name was Gregory. They thought it was Greg the whole time. And I grew up with these guys. So that's not surprising that people know, like they didn't know Greg was my – it's just funny. So it's all right. It was okay.
But the fact that they didn't know your real name was Gregory, and it's like, is that an indictment on like New Jersey? Like, is that like?
Oh, come on, wow, wow, that's what we doing. course, no, Brick City, Brick City
Or is that,
all day.
that
Brick
is your
City,
friends, man.
Jersey, Brick City. Listen, the fact that Greg, I tell people all the time, like, yo, so Greg, there was like, yo, what's the difference between Greg and Stylez? And I think this was amidst my contract re-signing. I was like, well, Greg was broke. Stylez got a little money now. So that was the biggest difference at the time. But now Stylez broke again. No, I'm just playing. No, it was fun, man. It was a good thing to do. I felt like it was it's a little bit more sentimental. For instance, like I was a junior. You know, my biological didn't bother. My bad, sorry. Biological didn't bother. And I was like, I changed my first name. And my son wasn't named after me. So I was like, oh, no harm, no foul. So, I mean, that's kind of how I more or less went. And I decided to change my name. But it's official. Stylez G. I tell people all the time, like, you want to call me Greg? If you want to call me Greg, fine. Is there a check that's going along with it? Because if I sign it, Greg White, if you gave me a check, other than that, legally, Stylez G. White.
So let's talk about Jersey. The Gophers are traveling to New York. I don't know if you're going to get a chance to drive up to New York or take the subway up to New York to watch the game.
60 degrees here. I'm good. 60 degrees in Florida. Fantastic here. Great. Don't worry.
You're a Jersey guy.
Yes.
Was Syracuse football, when you were coming out, because you picked Minnesota, but you're a big Jersey guy, was Syracuse on your radar for football?
No. Actually, fun fact, be real with you. Fun fact, I didn't even know I was gonna go to college, fam. Like I was just playing football, and then I found out that I was good at it, and then I found out people wanted me to play at their college, and I just went with whoever wanted to go with me. I thought it was gonna be Rutgers at one point in time, but other schools I had, everybody had the letters and stuff like, yo, we do it. I never experienced that before, so it was just. Matter of fact, I didn't even realize I was so much more into like Nebraska football, which is weird because I believe didn't Donovan McNabb go to Syracuse?
Yep, sure did.
Did he go to Syracuse? Yeah. So I was like, I didn't even know
Marvin Harrison and Donovan McNabb. Yeah, man, that's some big Syracuse guys.
Yeah, I had no idea. I was more of a what's that gentleman's name? The quarterback for Nebraska, Tommy. Oh my gosh.
Oh, Tommy Frazier.
Yeah, he was a beast. I was a big fan of him before I even like really got into Syracuse. So no, I just where school wanted to go with me, fam. That's how I was in Newark.
Well, you picked Minnesota from Newark. You came up to Minnesota, became a DN opposite Karan Riley. You two both had illustrious careers. Some of the biggest games you've been a part of: Penn State, Ohio State, beat Wisconsin for the last game. By the way, people, yes, we still have the Axe now. Got the Axe T-shirts. And so when you think about that, man, like when you go back to your college days at Minnesota, other than like, having a locker not too far from mine, because you were kind of kiddie, you're on that weird corner, and then 3 was down the way, so I could always see you doing something.
Where I was at with all the cool kids was at. The cool kids was all over.
You were over there with the weirdos that walked around butt naked for no reason sometimes, just to get your ankles taped. Like I've never seen a grown man get their ankles taped butt naked. Like, what is wrong with y'all linebackers and DN?
I ain't got to do with that. What did Rome do with the Romans do? I remember times when we were in Minnesota. Let me tell you, watching you play was awesome. Like watching you did. I remember, what's that one game with Nate Clements? You mossed him like 13 times. I was like, yo, bro, I gotta go first round. I think I shafted. I'm gonna be honest with you. I felt like you was like one of the best wide receivers, and so much the best. You took my friend aside, but that's a whole nother story. You know what I mean? I might have been a little envious of that, but no, seriously, you're a beast. I remember great times when Coach wouldn't, like, for whatever reason, was like, we got to stay away from yada yada. I don't know what you said to them. All I know is they kept going to you, and you never disappointed. And I was in awe of you, honestly, perfectly honest with you. And I don't think when we were in college, I never really gave you your flowers, but I remember those. I remember you when you boss Nate Clemens like 13. Yo, I remember that. So I was like, yo, this dude is unbelievable. But you know what I mean? Like I said, I felt like you were one of the better wide receivers in the country at that time. At least like, top 5 That's me. I'm top 5. You know I do the top 5 thing.
Appreciate
you don't get a haircut.
Well, I always told you and Karan how good you were, but like I got a chance to see it personally. One, in the Arena League, we were teammates with the Orlando Predators, and then you went on to the Bucks. I ended up going on to coach with Tony Dungy and the coach. By the way, we were roommates for I think a weekend or a week. I was so happy when they found me a new place to live. I want to tell y'all people, Stylez G White is definitely a person that needs to live by himself. Like him and roommates, this dude doesn't change who he is or what he likes to do for nobody. He don't care who's living with him. I was like, they bought me in. I came in that first night. They're like, oh, we'll just put you with Stylez till we can find you a condo. And so I'm like, cool. I think I was in there for 3 days. They called me hey, we found you a spot. I'm like, thank God. Because this dude got clothes everywhere. He just walking around eating cereal, with his shirt off. Man.
First off, I'm not a dirty dude. I'm a messy dude. It's different. I got clothes everywhere. Even right now, I got clothes everywhere. My house smells nice, but I just got clothes everywhere. Just how you go from
light some candles.
You said what? What'd you say?
I said we know you gonna light some candles.
No, come on. Listen, I was young. I'm a little better now. You come visit right now, you'd be like, yo, you got it together. I don't.
Okay.
Listen, I still, I do all right. I'm looking around right now. It's still a little messy, but it's clean. It's clean, ladies and gentlemen.
Messy. When you look back at your college days, man, think about the games. What were some of your favorite moments as a Gopher?
That's favorite moments. I would tell you the Penn State game when they had LeVar Arrington and all the boys. That was a crazy game. Yeah. And I think when we knocked off Ohio State, we beat Penn State and then Ohio State when they were third in the nation or something like that. Yeah, so those are probably my best times playing. But I honestly feel like off the field I had a blast. Just hanging out with y'all, running around. When I had my boom box. Remember I had my boom box on the bike?
Oh, yeah.
They used to run around. So, I had a great time more off the field with y'all but on the field, not because of – it's just – you know how we were. Remember – Joe, do you remember when we used to get up early in the morning for off-season workouts?
Oh, yeah, mat drills.
Because your mans had to do you remember that? Yeah, that was horrible. That wasn't a good time for me. I hated that. It was the worst. But it was just the dedication that we had, though. It had to be 99, 100% turnout, though. The people weren't late.
Oh, yeah.
We had to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Was that 5 o'clock in the morning? You had to, 5 o'clock in the morning, wake up. You had to be on the turf dressed by 5:45. If you weren't on the turf dressed by 5:45, you were late and you had to roll or run or get on the tread or the Stairmaster until they told you to stop. And I'll never forget, I think we were probably freshmen or sophomores, and everybody woke up at the same time. It was like the Walking Dead walking through Deakin Town. Because it was all 45 of us just walking, not talking to each other, sweatsuits on, because we're we ain't changing. Yep. We just going to go in, right what we got to wear, go in, you throw your coats on the ground, lay on the turf, and everybody just laying there waiting for Glen Mason to get in there and blow the whistle to get started. So, I definitely remember those days. And it was the whole, hey, if I'm not up, knock on my door. We were accountable for each other because we wanted to make sure. But I don't know if you remember this one. I'll never forget Ryan Keller. He lived downtown, and so he was late, and his car wouldn't start or something. This dude rollerbladed from downtown to mat drills. No. Yeah, you probably because you weren't a receiver. So the receivers we knew because you know you got to get with your group.
Yeah.
So we're with our group over there, and we look and we man, Keller not here. We're gonna be in trouble. We see this dude come hauling ass through the doors in rollerblades. He did first drill with rollerblades. So
no, I don't. Wow.
He was trying to take his rollerblades off. So he got his rollerblades off, and then he started doing it barefoot. And then one of the trainers, when he got his cleat or his turf shoes for him. But now Luke Leverson to this day tells that story. Man, Ryan Keller almost got us in trouble, but he came. He dove in there at the whistle with rollerblades on. We were dying laughing. But I'm gonna tell a story about you though. So. If you think about bowl games, you think about all the stuff because the Gophers are going to the bowl games. It's not a bad one, man. It's not a bad one.
I'm listening. I'm hearing it out.
It's not a bad. We were playing down in Miami. So I know you're a Florida guy now. We were playing down in Miami against NC State, killing NC State at the half. And then you and Karan sitting up there on this two-way talking about he texting his agent. You over there like looking for hot dogs and food. Like, we got this game on lock. And then Phillip Rivers, y'all put Phillip Rivers in the first round. Phillip Rivers and Corn Robinson come out in the second half and absolutely torch us. But I'll never forget this though. Through it all, y'all still like you still would come off with jokes like, "Hey, he's just better than we thought he was." Because like, we're all sitting up there like, man, because Phillip Rivers, nobody knew who he was, and then y'all still we laughed.
Yes. That part, I literally, and I said that to myself. I was like, we played against Phillip Rivers in the NC State. I remember that. I was like, I don't remember him being that good. I do remember him at the end, though. They gave it to us. I don't like it was crazy because I never heard anything about him. Remember, like I don't remember him at all. And
no, college was not talking about him then. That year, he was not being talked about.
Which is crazy. Like I don't. Well, I mean, he had an amazing career. Which is funny when you say like we win it and blah blah blah. So I tell you a story in the arena. So we were playing arena ball, and one of the guys came up to it like after we finished playing, and he told me something similar to that. He was like, he's like, yo, you was on one. I think that was the year that I had a really good year as defensive player of the year or whatever. And he was like, yo, you literally lined up against me, and be like, yo, what does it do afterwards? I was like, what? He was like, what? He was like, in the middle of the game. I'm like, yo, where we at later? He was like, what? What are you talking about? We're in the middle of the game. Dude, I don't know, man. I'll be zoned out. I'll be trying to have a good time, man. I just trying to have a good time. So,
Clearly.
You know,
I can see you asking where the party at in the middle of the game. Like, and that's what people didn't know about arena. We didn't fly out after the game. We stayed and then flew out the next morning. So then whatever city we played in, we got to hang out, go party, go kick it with guys we knew. So arena man was a lot different than the NFL. But here's what I'll ask you though. So when you think about your time with the Vikings, because you played for the Vikings, you're also a newer guy. You play for the Buccaneers as well. When you think about today's NFL and like Twitter and all this stuff, where do you think Stylez G White would fall with some of the sacks, some of the things you did with the Twitter age?
First, I'll probably get fined a lot. I'm not gonna lie to you. Secondly, with the Twitter where I be at right now, I mean, you can't even hit the quarterbacks these days. This game wasn't like when we played, man. You know when we played, I was just out of the era where quarterbacks can get hit anywhere. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like you just tough it out. It was like Drew Brees. I mean, you can hit the boys anywhere, and they took it, and they get back up and throw for 400 yards. Now it's all about the offense, all about the longevity of the play. And I get it, like I understand, but back in the day when we played, bro, like I said, we was just right out of that era where like almost anything goes. Oh, crackback blocks was huge back in the day. Remember those? We used to keep your head on the swivel. Ain't none of that no more.
Can't do it no more.
You know?
No.
For me, it's not the same.
No, and looking at that, it's not the same. Quarterbacks are different, but even from a defensive scheme, teams change within a year. You were a true defensive end, but as you brought up off camera with Matt, our producer back there, you played linebacker. So if you look at Za'Darius Smith, because he's with the Vikings, you look at Danielle Hunter, who's a true DN, he had to move to outside linebacker and play the 3-4 linebacker, where he's rushing like TJ Watt, But as a DN, how hard is that transition going from like a true DN to somebody saying, hey, we need you to stand up and rush the quarterback, but also drop in the flat?
Well, I think I actually played like when I got drafted with the Texans, we was in the 3-4. I actually like it a lot better because if you're versatile, and I don't even think I'm athletic, right? So if you're a versatile DN, I think the 3-4 is awesome. I get to drop in coverage. You get to play a little man on man. I personally would relish the idea of playing in a 3-4 because of that reason. You know what I mean? You gotta be smart too. I remember when we first started off playing in the 3-4, I had no idea because I was so used to playing a true DN position. Right. I didn't understand that, that you can drop just like any of the other linebackers and when to drop. When it's more attention to detail. I think the 3-4 defense gives you, and besides, Lawrence Taylor played the 3-4 defense, so who didn't want to be outside linebacker? You know what I mean? Like that was what it is.
Right.
But I think now the more 3-4 defense allows the DN to be more athletic, and show how smart he can be dropping in coverages and understanding coverage concepts.
And if you think about that, you were athletic, man. I've never seen a 270-pound guy do backflips in front of school, in between classes in the middle of the street versus a receiver. That happened, people. Like, we stopped traffic, and him and Jermaine Mays were doing backflips in the street. The school bus couldn't go by. Like, I mean, it was like high school, but we were college freshmen. But when you look at Glen Mason, you played under Glen Mason. What did Glen Mason do for you as a human being and as a man, going from 18 to 22, what do you remember about Glen Mason?
I had, first off, shout out to Glen Mason because he's from Jersey. Let's go, Jersey. Anyways, we had a conversation. He didn't say much to me, but this one time, like I told you, when I moved from a DN to linebacker, I think we played in Miami of Ohio. So they set me out the first quarter or whatever for disciplinary reasons. And I made a couple of plays, and he came up to me and he was just like, this is wow. He was like, this is what you are. He's like, this is what you do. Some to that conversation about me making plays. And it was very humbling to understand, or maybe it was in the heat of the moment, that he believed in me, even though I back then, man, I was young. I was going with the flow, whatever. And, he just sat by me and talked to me. And when he came to me not after the game, during the game, he was like, yo. When he said, yo. But he was like, get it, this is what you do. You got to stay focused. You could have been out there, yada, yada. You're a great player. And then I had a couple conversations with him afterwards as things was turning down. He was very patient with me and trying to help me understand the process and whatnot. So, good, Coach Mason's a good dude, man. I appreciate him inviting me over for dinner one time. That was nice. That was to chill with the family. So yeah, he didn't have to. So it was awesome.
Yeah, because he's never invited me over for dinner. So you got that on me, because I've asked him numerous times. He came on my show. Still haven't got the invite to dinner. So I don't know what I got to do. Maybe I got to. Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for me, you and Karan helped. But if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have gotten an interview at Ohio State. Like, we beat Ohio State because of us, and then he gets the interview at Ohio State. Like, that's.
I think that kind of hurt me too. That left a bad taste in my mouth. You remember that he tried to go? Yeah, I get it. Like back then I didn't get it, but I got it. I understood. I was like, he traded up on us, and why would he do that? And I remember, I think you were there, and he had us in the auditorium or whatever, and he talking to us in the team room, and he was like, if y'all want me to step down, I step down. I understand this is my second. Remember, it was the second time going out there. Yeah. And we just kind of, we all just, nobody said anything. And then Jimmy Henry stood up and was like, come on, man, it ain't like that. We all just started laughing. Boy, we needed that one because I didn't know what to say. I was like, I don't know, maybe you should. I was on the wall. I was like, I don't know how to feel about this. I'm so glad Jimmy Henry said that. I was like, come on, coach, it ain't that serious like that. And then, we went from there. Mark Snyder was dope too. Gotta give a shout out to Mark Snyder, DN coach.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because I remember that. I remember that happening with Glen Mason, and a lot of people don't. So I'm glad you brought that up, because we did, because we even had a vote. He left the room, and we voted. And honestly, as seniors, because we were there, we were like, look, we don't care. Like, we was like, if he stays we only got one more year with this dude. We were like, right. Captains, and we were like, it's more up to you freshmen and sophomores, because you guys are going to be here. So, no, I definitely remember that. But I remember Jimmy Henry doing that, because I'm like, if Jimmy hadn't have done that, I don't know which way it would have went. I feel like because it would have been real awkward if we were all like, all right, we want you to go, coach. And then he doesn't go.
For real. I was like, I was on the, I didn't know how to feel. I was like, yo, I just. Whatever y'all want.
He walked back in like, man, forget y'all. I can't go anyway. I can't just quit. I got $5 million on the table. I ain't walking out there.
No, it was real. It was real. It was good times, man. I had a lot of good times in Minnesota. I went back there.
Stylez G White on here. No, I got Stylez G
sorry.
right over here. It's Ron Johnson Show. Last one before we get into the Daily Three, we bring Sam back into the show. Stylez,
Okay.
I'm going to ask you one quick one. PJ Fleck is the current head coach of the Gophers. What do you think about the culture of the roll the boat, which is basically the never give up mentality? It's become a national brand now. You say roll the boat, everybody knows it's University of Minnesota and PJ Fleck. As an alumni, like, how do you feel about that?
I like it. I like what he's doing. I like the fact that, we running back university. I like all that. I just, I think his energy is great. I like his little swag on the sidelines. Just not a big fan of his pass game. Like, I'm just not. I'm gonna be real with you. Like, I like the idea of it. I know it's not easy. But as a fan, as alumni, as a fan, I'm like, he culturally very much accepted. I love the energy. I love his swag on the sideline, the little vest and the tie thing. I like it. The I'm talking about the
quarter zip.
Whatever you call that shirt. What's it called?
The quarter zip.
Yes. Yeah. See, I don't know what that is. I'm in Florida. I got flip-flops. I don't do flip-flops, but Crocs. Anyways, yeah, he doing a great job, man. I like it. I just I understand that we pump out running backs like crazy here. I would like to see our air game become a little bit more respected than anything, See that, has fun with it.
Got you. Well, remember, people, if you want endless Vikings talk, make sure you subscribe to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube, where you can find all of our videos, all of our shows, instant podcasts after every game, and the Vikings press conferences delivering all the biggest news. Like our videos, leave your comments in the section below, and let us know what you think. Got a big game coming up. You got Vikings, Giants, white out, as I predicted. The Vikings are going to wear their white uniforms. I got my white outfit from the Vikings for our pregame show on Saturday, so I'm looking forward to throwing that on and maybe doing a little TikTok with it. I don't know what I'm going to do, people, but it's snowing, and it's going to be snowing in the stadium, and we also have a word from our sponsors.
Make sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, the biggest stories around the sports world in 20 minutes or less, plus instant reactions, game recaps, and Locked On's take of the day. Locked On Sports Today, available on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. All right, plenty of college football talk with Ron. I've got some NFL questions for you, Stylez. I'm going to ask the question. You and Ron can split the time and answer it. My first one is about officials. There were a lot of questionable calls this past weekend in the NFL that definitely affected some games. And a lot of people are saying, well, you got to make the refs full-time. They're part-time employees. Make them full-time. Does the NFL have an officiating problem? We're going to go there. Ron, do you want to kick it off, and then we'll give Stylez a chance to have an answer as well?
Sure. So when you look at the NFL, and I'm going to go with specifically the game that affected us most and the game people keep, I keep seeing tweets. Brian Asamoah tweeted it out. Chandon Sullivan. I tweeted it out first, and then Chandon Sullivan got with it too, because I said early, because he couldn't tweet because he's playing. So I only reason I beat him to the tweet is because he was in the game. And I just tweeted that the NFL officials owe Chandon Sullivan 2 game balls and an apology. Brian Asamoah's hit on Michael Pittman Jr. Michael Pittman was not going down. He was actually heading forward and pulling away. And so then Brian Asamoah hits him, ball comes out, Chandon Sullivan scoops and scores. Refs say they blew the whistle. Next one, running back clearly fumbles in the pile. Ball hits the ground. Refs can't see it. They just blow the whistle, which I don't know why, because nobody's touching the running back. So if his momentum isn't stopped, he's in a scrum with his own offensive lineman, so he can do that. He's not down. I know offensive linemen aren't allowed to push the running back forward. They were not doing that. Ball's on the ground, though, so he doesn't even have the ball. He's looking for it. Chandon Sullivan, again, scoops it, scores. They said they blew the whistle in the scrum. They go back to the replay. Oh, it is a fumble. We'll give it to the Vikings because there was a clear recovery, but it's not a touchdown. Those 2 times, horrible officiating. And when you think about that, that's things that can ruin games. That could have ruined the greatest comeback in NFL history. It didn't. But we saw other whistles from Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. They had one that should have been blown. It wasn't. So it's one of those things where these refs aren't all on the same page and getting it right. So they got to change that.
Stylez?
I would agree. I saw both of those games. I saw the Coast game with the Minnesota Coast game, and I mean, you're right. And another one was the Washington game where the wide receiver, I forget his name, literally asked the ref, was he on the line? Gave him thumbs up and everything. And then threw the flag on him after he scored a touchdown, which was huge. That was a huge game. That was huge. Like, how do you tell him, okay, then say he was offsides when they go in to score? They end up not scoring, whatever, obviously the Giants won the game. It's unbelievable. It's egregious. It's to a point where it's egregious. To the point with the Minnesota game. I watched that game and I was like, how do you call it? It was so much of a fumble. And I saw the guy named, I apologize, running back for a touchdown. And what bothers me the most about it is, like, the refs aren't held accountable. That's the part that bothers me the most because they make excuses for them. Well, because of this happened. I'm like, yo, that's trash. That's trash. They really need to hold these officials accountable. The half a year, whole year, no. Like, I don't care about that. They need to hold them accountable because they're not performing well. And they're just like they hold us as athletes, not accountable for not making plays or not doing what we're supposed to do. They should be the same. Suspend them. That's what I say. Take games away from them. I mean, come on. It got to be better referencing than it is right now. It's causing games outcomes for the most part. So that's my take.
For sure. And then the Raiders game, too. Guy got credited for a touchdown when it looked like his foot was on the line. So a lot of big calls in big spots of games. Stylez, you played for the Bucs for a long time. You're down in Florida. I want to ask you a Bucs question.
Yeah.
Do the Buccaneers have a chance to win a playoff game despite their struggles this season?
I believe they do, and I don't think it's because of Tom Brady. I think it's because their defense comes out and play and puts Tom Brady in a better position so he can win games. I don't think it'd be because of him. I do know they have the better chance with Tom Brady as the quarterback. Obviously, you're not going to bench Tom Brady. So with Tom Brady, and I believe the defense, because the offense is not clicking at all, 32nd in the league and rushing. If first comes to play, put them in better positions, and I think that they could at least win one playoff game. If at this point, I don't even know where they're gonna go, to be honest, because the way that they're playing right now with the Cincinnati what happened with Cincinnati was terrible.
So this is what I'll say about that question, Sam. So when you think about the Bucs, can they win a playoff game? Well, it all depends on what seed they get. This is the curse that they have in the playoffs, and I bet they'd be begging right now for a change. The fact that they're going to win the NFC South possibly with 3 games to go, they're 6-8. Every other team, which I've never seen this in my life, are 5-9. So anybody right now can make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody in that division can make the playoffs because they're all 5-9. Somebody's going to have to win because they have to play each other. So then they'll get 6 wins. They'll be tied with the Bucs. The Bucs lose. I mean, there's so many different situations that can happen right now with 5-win team and a 6-win team trying to get in the playoffs. Here's the problem. I don't think they can win a playoff game because they're going to have to play the 5 seed. And they're going to have to go play a really, really good Cowboys because I think, 2 plays 7, 3 plays 6, 4 plays 5. So they're going to have to go play the Cowboys. I don't think they can win. They can't win a playoff game.
But they play the Cowboys at home.
Yeah, and the Cowboys play indoors too.
So the Cowboys go to the Bucs though. A little home field advantage. No, I'm not gonna lie to you.
Interceptions travel. Defense, you know this. Defense travels. You look at Micah Parsons. You look at DeMarcus Lawrence, and you look at that little kid named Trayvon Diggs. I met Trayvon Diggs when he was in college because his brother was a Minnesota Viking. I got the video on my phone. I have not posted it. I'm going to post it eventually because now it actually came true that the guy is good. But I have a video with me and Trayvon on the sideline. He's in college, so he's not, he's willing to just do any interview because he's a young college kid. And I'm like, and I got my phone out selfie style. We're just talking. I'm like, hey, man, you see your brother right? And Stephon had walked over. So I'm like, you see your brother right here, man. I'm like, hey, do you think you could cover this guy? And do you think you'll be a great, DB? And he with confidence, he's like, oh yeah, any day. I'll cover my brother any day, anytime, anywhere. And so Trayvon Diggs is now showing, and he's like, I can cover most receivers in the NFL because my brother's one of the best. And so, and he's true. It's true. And so that's what I look at with Mike Evans. Trayvon Diggs, Mike Evans, that would be a great matchup, but you got size on size. You got a 6'2 DB on a 6'3 receiver. And what he does best is he goes and attacks the ball with his hands as well. Tom Brady, if you get after him with Micah Parsons, they have the most sacks in NFL history in like 10 games. They can get Tom Brady off his steps because he can't run anymore. So, yeah, I don't think they can win a playoff game.
He can't read. Tom Brady never could run. What you talking about? He can't run no more.
I wonder what the Cowboys will be favored by on the road. 10-point favorites on the road. That's going to be a crazy.
I think they'll probably be 8-point favorites.
Yeah. Last one. If we can agree that the NFC South is the worst division in football, Stylez, what is the best division in football? What do you think?
It'll be an NFC. It'll probably be the East. Is that the Giants, Cowboys? Yep. Yeah, they are what they are. Their record, they're in a very challenging division, and I'm just saying, don't sleep on the AFC North with the Cincinnati Bengals and Baltimore Rams with Lamar Jackson back. So, but pound for pound, I believe the NFC East is probably the best division, slightly.
Yeah, I was going to say, statistically, I'm going to have to go with the Giants. When you look at that group, you got the Cowboys, the Giants, the Washington Commanders, who probably will have a chance to be in the playoffs as well.
Yep.
Things hold up the way they are. Because right now they're the 7th seed, Giants are 6th seed, and then you look up, you got the Cowboys, the 5th seed, and you got the Eagles, the number 1 seed and the number 1 team in the NFL at 13-1. You got to go with the NFC East. You have to, because the AFC East, you just got the Bills. The AFC West, you just got the Chiefs. The AFC North, you just got the Bengals. And the AFC South, you just have the Titans. The other guys in that group, like the Dolphins, haven't really done much. The Chargers, they're middle of the road. The Ravens, middle of the road. And then they're falling because of Lamar Jackson not being in there. Patriots, not even in the playoffs, not having a great year. The Jets, they don't even know who their quarterback is. The Jags, they suck. The Raiders, they don't know what they're doing. The Browns, I know that's your team, Styles, but they're trash. Kevin Stefanski, love them, but they are not good. The Steelers, not doing well with Mike Tomlin. So it's tough. And then, of course, we already know the Falcons, Saints, and Panthers are terrible. The Packers and Lions, the Lions are doing better. Let's go there. The Packers are good.
Yeah.
But the Bears suck. So, yeah, you got to go with the NFC East. Right now, they're showing, and which is crazy, though, because they went from the worst to first. They were the trash bunnies last year, and everybody was saying they were a dumpster fire and whoever wants to get to the playoffs here. So maybe being the worst and then you get high draft picks and you get some offseason trades is the answer. Maybe that's what the Bucs and everybody's doing now. They're like, let's just suck a little bit. Let's not get a top draft pick. Let's go get one of those early draft. Or sorry, let's get a low draft pick. Let's not get a high seed in the playoffs. Let's go get that early top 15 draft pick. Let's trade some people in the offseason. The Bucs' biggest issue, though, is going to be quarterback. And that whole division, though, other than the Giants and the Eagles, I don't know if, the Commanders know who their quarterback's going to be. The Bucs don't know who their quarterback's going to be. The Saints, you got a lot of teams over in the NFC who are going to, the Packers, it's going to be a quarterback-driven league. The AFC seems like they kind of have their quarterbacks under the wraps right now, what they need. The NFC is struggling with quarterbacks, and I think that's going to be the key long-term with them. But that'll do it for the Ron Johnson Show. I want to thank Stylez G. White for joining me today. Man, I love him. That's my bro. From freshmen to seniors, we were together. Stylez G. White was one of the reasons we beat Wisconsin our senior year. We stayed up all night before we played Wisconsin and drank. And we went out there and whooped Wisconsin. And, a brotherhood that I'll always appreciate, man. Love you, appreciate you. People, make sure you check out our Locked On Sports Minnesota podcast on YouTube, following every Twins, Vikings, Wild, or Wolves game. Our Locked On team hosts are broadcasting live with team insiders. Never miss a podcast by subscribing to Locked On Sports Minnesota on YouTube. And please make sure you download the app, Locked On Sports Minnesota, on Amazon Fire and Roku. You can get it right there. See all of our videos, all of our shows. Be safe out there, people, because it's snowing. But thank you, and have a great day.